Yo, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Now today we're actually at this little park that's kind of next to my house, and I actually came here to hopefully take a new channel banner for my YouTube because the one I have on there now is just kind of ugly looking. And obviously we are out here taking the channel banner with this bad boy right here. And hopefully you guys can hear me pretty well. It is kind of windy out here, as you can tell. My hair's blowing around, but I have this little external mic on here, so hopefully it's helping out that problem. But today we are going to be talking about things you should look at before you buy an OBS Ford. Now, more specifically, this genre right here, the two-wheel drive 5.0s. Now, before I get into this, I know I'm going to completely forget and go over a bunch of things that should look for as well, but I also want to make this video not super long, but I want to get you as much information as possible, if that makes sense. Now, we're going to be going over like suspension and then a little bit of the engine and then stuff in the inside as well. Some of them is going to be pretty obvious stuff, and then some of them is going to be like, huh, maybe I learned something I didn't know if I was about to go out and buy, you know, one of these trucks. Okay, so first things first, and this is almost for like every single thing you try to buy, at least, you know, vehicle wise. So let's get under here and look at a few things. Now, obviously, since this truck is old, it's bound to have some kind of rust. With that being said, you could have people that are gonna try to cover up the rust as much as they can, and there's actually a super good way to know if that's what happened or not. Okay, so as you can tell, mine is Rhino-Line, but you can see on that side it's kind of rusty, but I live in Texas, so you know there's not much rust down here as it is. But what this is bringing me to say is that some people may have just painted this frame before you got there, and I'm going to show you a neat little way to kind of tell if that's what happened or not, at least if it's a Rhino-Line. You know, this is Rhino-Line, and it was actually super easy to tell if there was rust under it. And like I said, I live in Texas, there's not that much rust, but there's enough on there to where you could tell that it was under the paint, if that makes sense. And the reason I'm kind of talking about the Rhino-Liner paint on there and it peeling is because it's kind of getting a little more popular as we go on day by day. But as you can tell, I painted over mine. But the second you see this Rhino-Liner peeled on any spot, see, like as y'all can tell, it's all crusty right there. I can literally peel it off with my finger. I don't want to, but y'all can see how it's all peeled off, and I just sprayed it over with like Rust-Oleum paint, and it's holding pretty well actually. But with the Rhino-Liner stuff, if there's any kind of crack, that means there's rust under it. So there's one thing, basically just look for rust on the frame. I'll show y'all how mine looks on the inside of it. It's not that bad at all, but I'll go ahead and show y'all anyways. Let me get under here real quick. So as y'all can tell, you know, it's just like the normal wear and tear of about 26-year-old stuff. And here's like this right here. It's not too bad at all, actually, guys. Like, this is better than, like, you know, somewhere where it's snowy and icy all the time in 2 years, and this looks like this in 26 years, if you get what I'm trying to say. But now that we are under here, actually, I can show y'all a few more things to look for. Okay, so one of them is something that you are actually looking at right now, and that is leaking fluid. And what you want to look for around the transmission is right here at the front is where I've seen them kind of notoriously seep through. Now this is a brand new rebuilt transmission, so it shouldn't be leaking already. I need to contact the guys that did this so they can get it fixed again. But as y'all can tell, yeah, it is seeping out through there a little bit. You can see a little bit of, you know, extra transmission fluid right there. Another thing that you may want to look at is the exhaust setup. Now, of course, it's an OBS truck, so it really doesn't matter, or at least in Texas, if there's a EGR and stuff like that. But what you could look for is the, let me find it on the camera, is the O2 sensor, which is right there, and make sure that there is a cat afterwards. Now this one is hollowed out, and I have the check engine light on because of the straight pipe I'm running, but since I live in Texas, it doesn't really matter. All you have to pass is the safety test, so I'm good on that. But that could be for someone else who lives out of state and you have to have the O2 sensor or something like that. Now another thing you can look for on these is if, you know, anything is loose on the drive line. Another thing you may want to look for is to see if there is anything that's supposedly not supposed to be welded to the frame is welded to the frame. In my case, it is the radius arm brackets. We actually did those ourselves, so that's why it's like that. You may want to look for something like that just in case you're wanting to do a bigger lift or something like that. Another thing you can look for is worn out body mounts. Now as you can see, I have a body lift on a body mount. Mine are actually pretty good, not too worn out at all. And therefore, we didn't really have to replace the body mounts to do the body lift. So that's just another little thing to look for. Obviously, another big thing, make sure that oil pan is not leaking oil. Now, depending on who you're getting your OBS from or where you're getting it from, make sure you take it out for a test drive and make sure you hit some bumps, because especially if it's lifted or you bought it lifted, these things do like to death wobble pretty easy, and it's usually easier to tell if they are because you can almost just hit a speed bump or even like run over one of these guys at about 20 miles an hour and you'll feel it start to shaking, and then you'll know you got something loose under there or something needs to be replaced, and that almost takes care of your whole front end. And then of course, like I said, depending on where you're getting it from and stuff, if you can take off the wheel and check the shocks and the springs and everything like that, definitely do that. Now this right here is still kind of going to go along the lines of what I just said, but you can check for some loose steering. I mean, as you can tell, this thing is pretty dang loose. Maybe while you're twisting that, look under there at those and see what is moving. Now, I would definitely recommend bringing a buddy or something, because there's a lot of things you can check on these trucks with two people, if that makes sense. For example, like turn the steering wheel side to side, watch the steering column down below into the gearbox, see if anything's loose, stuff like that. Just make sure you have two people with you. And of course, if you forget something, you know, your buddy can double check you. But a few more things we can check for right now. It's under the hood, and it's actually pretty simple. This actually probably goes for just about any car truck you're going to buy. And also, before I go any further, no, I am not a genius on car trucks, and no, I do not know everything about them, and I'd like to learn stuff about them, and I'd like to give y'all information I know about them, so you take that into your hands on what you want to do with it. But now, we're gonna look under this hood. Now, I'm standing on my tire right now, but kind of a problem with this video right now is that I actually just drove this here, so it's hot, so, you know, I can't check, like, the oil and stuff like that for y'all. But there is a thing y'all need to check. If there is no radiator coolant in your radiator box, which mine actually has some in there, you know you're gonna have a problem. Just to begin with, just looking at this, you already know you have a problem if that thing is empty or almost empty. But with that being said, make sure you do check the oil and the power steering fluid, which are two very big things that kind of need to be checked on the regular with these things. Another thing you can check for is any kind of mods under the hood. For my instance, we kind of deleted the EGR pump, whatever thing you want to call it. Another thing you want to check for is to see if it had any good battery terminals on it, or just check around the battery in general, because sometimes batteries and good wires to certain parts of these trucks is just not something you want to mess with. Now, another thing you want to check for on these trucks is the frame and any kind of bends and cracks in it. Now, we kind of just went over this at the very beginning of the video with the rust, but these frames are called C-frames or something along those lines, but basically they're kind of made to bend and stuff, and you'll notice while you're driving, other than this being the twin I-beam as well, it does have a lot of body roll. So these frames, I'll show y'all what they look like real quick, and I'll show y'all where they kind of tend to bend if it wasn't like a wreck or something. Now, of course, mine is not bent by any means or anything, so I'm only going off of what I have heard from other people that have these trucks. But I have heard, say if you, sorry, it's not focusing, if you got rear-ended or something, for some reason they tend to bend like right after these shackles right here on the leaf springs. I don't know why, but that's what I've heard. And then while we're kind of talking about rear ending here, what you might want to check for is how the front and rear bumper are kind of on the truck. As you can tell, mine is welded, so if I did ever get rear ended, that would kind of suck for me. You can be the judge of that on why it would be bad. Now, another little trick that I've heard about these trucks that actually might come in handy to you is get some kind of magnet or something that is going to stick to this truck, since you know it is kind of made out of all metal, and get a small rag so you can put the magnet up against the truck with the rag, see if it sticks. Now, you want to go all the way around the truck, and by doing this, you are giving yourself a good idea on if the truck has ever been bondoed or had body work done on it before, because obviously stop sticking in one spot, then that gives you your answer if it's had body work or, you know, bondo or something like that done to it. Another thing you could look for is the tread on the tires and see if there is actually any uneven tread wear or anything like that. Now, I don't know how I skipped all this, but we're gonna go inside the truck, and you want to check how many miles the truck obviously has on it. Get this, you know, turned on real quick. As you can hear my electric fan over there. This one currently has, hang on if I can get this in there. So as you can tell, mine currently has 133,000 miles on it. And another thing while we're in here is you want to make sure that all of the meters work on the truck. And like I said earlier, hopefully wherever you're buying it from, they'll let you test drive it so you can actually check these things firsthand instead of guessing. Another little thing you could do is just, you know, kind of make sure all the body lines line up and stuff like that. Kind of goes with what I was telling y'all earlier about the little magnet trick and everything. Just make sure the truck looks good on the outside, and obviously, you know, make sure it looks good inside and out. Now inside, I can't really tell y'all much about it other than just look at it look at the doors, make sure all the windows work, you know, just make sure everything worked inside. Now I think I'm gonna go ahead and close the hood now. And now obviously if y'all guys have any other questions about what you need to look for, just drop it down in the comments below and I will answer them. Like I said, I do know I am probably forgetting a buttload of stuff to go over that is actually probably pretty simple that I just can't think of right now. But I am actually gonna go ahead and wrap up this video, and just to let y'all know, there might not be a video for a few days. Today is like the 28th and I'm actually going out of town for a few days, but I'm gonna try to film a few videos today so I can keep these consistent uploads like every day coming out for y'all. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully it helped y'all along the lines of, you know, buying a new OBS truck. And hopefully if you were looking for a review like this over a different truck, maybe mine still helped you. But either way, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.